Ethan Reyes had learned, painfully and too early, that life didn't wait for anyone to get back on their feet. It had been 18 months since his wife, Camilla, passed away, leaving him to raise their 10-year-old son, Mateo, alone. In that time, Ethan had worked every odd job he could find: janitor at the mall, weekend dishwasher, part-time mover, anything that kept food on the table and rent barely paid. He slept little, talked even less, and tried to convince Mateo that everything was fine, even when their kitchen cabinets were so empty the echo inside felt louder than their own voices. When he saw the job posting for a night shift caretaker at the Ridgeview Research Facility, he almost scrolled past it. Isolated location, minimal supervision, double pay for overnight coverage. It was the kind of job people whispered about while rolling their eyes. Nobody wanted it, not even desperate workers like him. Rumors said the place was cursed, haunted, or at least full of equipment so outdated it made you feel like you were walking through a mausoleum of forgotten science. But Ethan didn't have space in his life for fear or superstition. All he saw was the pay, more than all three of his jobs combined. It meant Mateo wouldn't have to quit his after-school activities. It meant Ethan could finally be home during the day instead of crashing on the sofa between shifts. So, one cold Thursday night, Ethan packed Mateo's blanket and an extra sandwich, kissed his son's forehead, and drove them to Ridgeview. The facility sat alone on a road no one used anymore, half-choked by vines and surrounded by tall, whispering trees. The building looked like it had been designed by someone who loved concrete and hated windows. The air felt heavier there, as if it had listened to too many secrets. Inside, the outdated reception area buzzed with flickering lights, and the air smelled faintly of dust and metal. Mateo wrinkled his nose but didn't complain. He never complained. Ethan set him up in the small security office, where an ancient recliner and a portable heater made a makeshift nest. "I'll be right down the hall," Ethan said, brushing hair from his son's forehead. Mateo nodded sleepily, clutching his sketchbook. "I'm okay, Dad, promise." Ethan kissed the top of his head and stepped into the silent corridor, heart heavy but hopeful. If he could endure this, things might finally get better. But as he walked deeper into the facility, flashlight sweeping over locked doors and peeling signs, he felt a strange chill along his spine. The kind of cold that didn't come from temperature. The kind that felt like watching eyes. At 2 a.m., just when he thought he'd imagined the unease, a low hum rose from beneath the floor. Steady, vibrating, nothing like the normal moans of an old building settling. Ethan froze. The sound grew stronger, pulsing like a heartbeat, drawing him toward a door with a crooked sign. Restricted, Project Lab 07. Ethan hesitated. He didn't want trouble. He wanted to survive the night and get paid. But the humming deepened, shaking the doorknob slightly, as though something was calling to him. With a breath he didn't realize he was holding, he pushed the door open. The room beyond was dark except for a faint glow from the center. There, under a dusty sheet half pulled aside, sat a large metallic sphere the size of a small car, its surface etched with patterns that almost looked like constellations. The sphere pulsed with soft blue light, lines running across it like veins. Ethan's breath caught. "What the?" He stepped closer. The sphere responded immediately, light flaring, patterns shifting. A soft projection lifted into the air, shimmering blue like rippling water. It formed a rotating map, but not of Earth. Ethan had no word for what he was seeing. And then, "Dad," Mateo's small voice echoed behind him. Ethan spun around, startled. "Mateo, stay back." But before he could shield him, the sphere flashed again. Light wrapped around them both. Symbols spun faster, brighter, forming a breathtaking image suspended in the air. Mateo gasped. Ethan's heart raced. The map wasn't just not Earth. It wasn't any world humans had ever seen. The pulsing sphere hummed louder until the room felt alive, watching them, waiting. And in that moment, frightening, surreal, impossible, Ethan realized that this job, the one no one wanted, wasn't just a night shift. It was the beginning of something he didn't understand. Something that chose him, and his son. Part 2. The sphere's glow softened, shifting into a series of images, scientists in lab coats, diagrams, recorded notes, everything projected in the air like a silent, ghostly film. Matteo stepped closer, mesmerized. Ethan grabbed his shoulder gently, torn between fear and awe. The projection flickered, and a mechanical voice filled the room, startling them both. Project Ecosphere. Biometric activation detected. Ethan's heart slammed into his ribs. Biometric. What? The voice replied instantly, as though listening to him. Access level confirmed. Welcome, Ethan Reyes. Ethan stumbled backward. How do you know my name? The projection shifted. Suddenly, pages of digital documents appeared, and Ethan's breath died in his throat. There, on the largest page, was a signature he recognized better than his own. Camila Reyes, his wife. The one he lost. The one he thought he knew everything about. Matteo's voice cracked. Mom. Ethan's knees nearly buckled. The projection changed again, forming a video. Camila sat in a lab he now recognized as Ridgeview, her hair tied back, her eyes tired but warm. She pressed a shaky hand to the recorder. If you are seeing this, something has gone wrong. Ethan's body froze as the room seemed to tilt. Camila looked older than he remembered when she recorded this, older than she ever got to be. The Ecosphere was meant to preserve knowledge, data, memory, but during development, we found something else. It can store emotional imprints, decision patterns, fragments of consciousness. We didn't mean to create it, but we did, a machine that remembers like a person. Ethan shook his head. Camila, why didn't you tell me? Her projection continued softly. Because I didn't want to burden you. And because I wasn't sure how long I had after the diagnosis. Ethan felt stabbed. She knew she was sick. She'd never said a word. Matteo took a step toward the projection, tears streaming silently. Mom, you said you'd never leave us. The holographic Camila smiled, small and sorrowful. That's why I did this. A part of me lives here. Not fully me, but enough. Enough to guide you. Enough to love you both through the data I left behind. Light spilled from the sphere, enveloping Matteo in a warm glow, like an embrace made of memory. Matteo cried into the light, trembling. Ethan watched, tears running freely, heart tearing open in ways he didn't know were still possible. When the projection faded, the room fell quiet except for the soft hum of the machine. Matteo wiped his eyes. Dad, she's here. Not alive, but here. Ethan knelt, pulling him close. I know, buddy, I know. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Ethan accepted a permanent contract to maintain the facility, something he never imagined wanting. He repaired broken wiring, cleaned long-abandoned labs, and slowly brought Ridgeview back to life. Not because of the pay, though that helped, but because the facility had become a bridge to the woman he still loved. Some nights, Matteo would sit with the Ecosphere for hours, talking through his fears and dreams. Listening to Camila's recorded advice shaped by the machine's adaptive responses. He was healing in ways Ethan had prayed for but never believed possible. Ethan, too, found comfort there, hearing Camila's laugh echo through old recordings, learning about the research she never shared, realizing she had spent years building a future for them even while her own time was running out. Ridgeview was no longer a haunted building no one wanted to touch. It was theirs, full of echoes, love, memory, and a quiet promise that even loss couldn't break the threads connecting them. And every night, as Ethan looked at the glowing sphere humming gently in the dark, he realized something profound. Taking the job nobody wanted had felt like desperation. But it became salvation. It became discovery. It became a second chance to know the woman he lost, and to rebuild a life for the son who still needed him. It became the best decision of his life.